I've decided to wear something that I wore last decade when I hosted office hours at the University of California, Berkeley, when I was a graduate student before I quit with no degree. It was geophysics. This time my focus is cardiology for reading this, my self-experimentation. So this is with the spirit of theirs, I'm wearing something I used to wear long sleeve t-shirts. And I even had these glasses back then. So this is trying to create this is something that I might do if I were pursuing graduate degrees in, say, Greek or English with the other as a minor. And so, like, this might be an example, kind of going through heart references I'm pulling out of this book in office hours or like a group meeting that I host. So that would, yeah. This is a few heart references in the Iliad by Homer, pages 301 through 350, 2007 Signet Classics edition. Today is Monday, 11 May 2026, and inspired by my cardiology self-experimentation here, I, Tanis of Seattle, talk through a few heart references in the Iliad by Homer, pages 301 through 350. Initial text by Homer, approximately 8th century B.C. Specific book/edition, the Iliad by Homer, translated by W.H.D. Rouse, 2007 Signet Classics edition, paperback, ISBN, and the video description. These are part of my notes from reading the Iliad by Homer for the first time. I read pages 301 through 350 today, Monday. All right, I watched out for heart stuffs invoking art of war style/approach. Page 301, quote, "The young man's knees gave way, his heart failed him, he let go the spear and sank to the ground in a heap with both hands outspread," end quote. Perhaps a heart attack. Page 307, quote, "His heart laughed with glee," end quote. "Emotion of the heart can be elevated to an extent it is palpable." Page 310, quote, "You are heartily welcome to boast," end quote. Heart character descriptor tied with vocalization. Page 311, quote, "His heart possessed with madness and the lust of victory," end quote. Heart registered feel and want. Page 311, quote, "Strengthened his heart with courage," end quote. Strength of a heart could change. Page 311, quote, "Deeply moved, he said to his own brave heart," end quote. A person spoke to their own brave heart. Did to do so require bravery itself, to speak to one's own heart? Page 313, quote, "Do not be so hard-hearted," end quote. It was perceived there was conditions to not be a particular intensity of hard-hearted. Page 313, quote, "Cruel pain would pass from my heart," end quote. Pain was perceived as being removable from the heart. Page 314, quote, "Cried out the secrets of her heart," end quote. Release of something in the heart through vocalization. Page 315, quote, "Deeply moved, he spoke to his own heart," end quote. Took a lot to speak to one's own heart. Page 317, quote, "I had not the heart to desert you," end quote. Abandonment/desertion required a strength of sorts. Page 317, quote, "Now my heart bids me," end quote. Heart call to action was timely. Page 319, quote, "Trying to frighten me and make me lose heart," end quote. A heart could register a scare. Page 320, quote, "Ruthless heart," end quote, in reference to finding a place on a body to attempt to kill someone. Page 320, quote, "I wish from the bottom of my heart," end quote, a want that registered deep in the heart. Page 321, quote, "Your heart is made of iron, but reflect," end quote. Heart material quality/characterization invoked, followed by, curiously enough, a material property of iron. That is, it can reflect light and image. So the author/speaker may be indicating to make the heart like the metal iron and see oneself for what they really are, and if that image needs to change considering circumstance. Which directs me to reading Art of War again. I already put it on hold through a public library system. Some might term circumstance a stressor these days. At page 323, quote, "My heart is in my mouth," end quote. A heart could get in the way of speaking. Variation these days is foot in one's mouth. Page 323, quote, "With beating heart," quote, "with beating heart," end quote, "high energy physical activity accompanied faster heartbeat." Page 325, quote, "Their hearts longed for," end quote, "heart wanted something more/absent in the present." Page 326, quote, "A deep, sweet sleep that soothed the sorrows of his heart," end quote. Good heart health followed restful slumber. Page 321, page 329, quote, all present broke into lamentation with all their hearts, end quote. Action/speaking commenced from the heart, required effort/energy. Page 332, quote, they stand with sorrow in their hearts, end quote. A feeling could be static in the heart. Page 334, quote, hearts beating high in hope, end quote. A heart beating fast could be due to something other than physical exertion. Page 339, quote, let your heart forgive me, end quote. Forgiveness paired with heart. Page 339, quote, heart was warmed, end quote. And same paragraph, quote, heart warmed, end quote. Feel of heart actively changed, warmed in persons. Page 340, quote, does my heart good that you remember, end quote. Heart health and memory/remembering paired. Page 349, quote, my heart is so full of infinite sorrow, end quote. Heart possessed eternity components, question mark. Page 349, quote, heart is full of sorrow that will not be comforted, end quote. Not all heart feelings/pain may go away even if desired. Page 349, quote, treasure enough to warm the heart of, end quote. I butchered that delivery. Quote, treasure enough to warm the heart of, end quote. Particular individuals may require more to change the heart. Each individual unique, question mark. Page 350, quote, eat your heart out, end quote. Heart hunger may not be satisfied. Quote, page 350, quote, talked together without concealment, heart to heart, end quote. Conversation without hiding/hidden information. Speaking for the heart required honesty and transparency. Yeah, so I got like 20 some pages left. So like tentatively another one of these heart references videos, and then like a final notes video, and then did it change my perspective on potentially seeing a movie in theaters this year. But there we go. So that's a few heart references in the Iliad by Homer, pages 301 through 350, 2007 Signet Classics edition. From me, Tanis, she, her, hers of Seattle, to you, this Monday, 11 May 2026 AD.